Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order, the Pompano Beach City Commission meeting of July the 11th, 2023. Before we go any further, if I could ask everyone to please silence or put your cell phones on vibrate, either put them on vibrate or silence them just so we don't get disrupted during our meeting. It's happened to me before where a phone call comes in the middle of the meeting and it's mighty embarrassing. So please take care of your cell phones. Kervin, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Fournier.
Here.
Commissioner Moss.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Here.
Mayor Harden.
Here, thank you. Our invocation this afternoon is going to be given by the Reverend Dr. Greg Fitch of Psychology and Hospital Chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all please stand for the invocation, followed by the pledge. Doctor?
Will you bow your heart and mind as we pray together? Dear wise and loving Father, let me first say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for the many and abundant blessings on our city, on our region, on every employee. We thank you. Thank you for life itself and for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work, for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you've established those, the very authority to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, we pray for our mayor, for all the city council members, for all those who are meaningfully involved in our city government. We ask as well that you would grant them always wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, and personal peace in our lives and the joy in our tasks that are set before us. So we pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us the assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those that live and work in our city here in Pompano Beach. We pray all these in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, can I get a motion approving our regular City Commission meeting minutes of June the 27th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the City Commission budget workshop minutes of June 27th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Very good. Thank you. On our agenda this afternoon, we are going to be adding a presentation by Broward County Mayor Lamar Fisher as our first item under special presentation. And I would like to welcome Broward County Mayor Lamar Fisher. He is here with us today. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, and we'll hear from you momentarily. So he will be added as the first item under special presentations. Our second presentation item is actually going to be stricken due to scheduling conflicts. So strike the second presentation, and we're adding the first presentation. Mr. Harrison, do we have any other changes to our agenda?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. On our consent agenda this afternoon, items number 1, 3, and 7 will be pulled for individual discussion. So 1, 3, and 7 will be discussed individually. All other items on the consent are eligible for discussion during the audience to be heard portion of our meeting. Very good. That takes us up to special presentation. I'd like to welcome our own Broward County Mayor, Mr. Lamar Fisher. Yes. Woo-hoo.
Wow, good afternoon. It is so good to be home. This is, as most of you know, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Mayor and Vice Mayor and Commissioners. It's such an honor to be here. Just to give you a few words for Broward County, most importantly, my goal this year as mayor is to visit all 31 cities, and so this is number 26. So I kept my district till last, I started way down in Miramar and kind of worked myself up to my ending as I come close through the conclusion of visiting my cities. But I wanted you to know that obviously I was able to sit in your chair as a city commissioner and as a mayor and understanding maybe the dynamics of the county versus the cities, and to let you know that that is no more. We want the communications to be open. I've been privileged to work with each and every one of you during my time as a county commissioner and now as mayor. Of course, our reclaim in Highlands and our recent conversations with our homeless. Thank you, Commissioner Fournier, for that. And that will continue. And I'm happy to tell Commissioner Moss that as of yesterday, we are the proud owners, meaning Broward County is the proud owners of the Motel 6 on 31st.
Right.
So we now own that property, and we look forward to a great development there for affordable housing and to complement the 31st Avenue corridor. So that's it, and I've been working with all commissioners. So please, I want you to know that my door is always open, and it will be my theme this year's communication, collaboration, and community. And as I visit the 31 cities, it's really interesting that the commonality that we have, Mayor, amongst other cities, whether you're in Weston or whether you're in Fort Lauderdale or Pompano Beach or Deerfield, there are commonalities that run parallel. So we want to make sure that we tackle your items. I'm happy to report that the little hiccup that seemed to have happened with our coastal community rail, I'm happy to report that that was kind of a little bit of a misunderstanding, and that I was working and have been working with Mayor Gentalis of Fort Lauderdale, and we do have consensus now that we'll move forward for an LPA, a local preferred alternative, that provides us to be able to now get the funding necessary from the federal government, from the state, and obviously from our surtax dollars as well. So I fought very hard for a station to be here in Pompano Beach and Deerfield, as well as Oakland Park. And so look forward to that development to come, and coastal community rail to be part of our community, to be able to get folks out of the cars, and the new generations hopefully will do that, to be able to live, work, and play right here in downtown Pompano. So excited about things that are happening in Broward County, exciting things are happening in Pompano Beach. Want to make sure that we maximize surtax dollars, Mayor, to make sure that we can make your projects the best we can make them at the end of the day. So please reach out. Suzanne Bailey is with me today, who is one of my aides, and it's actually my third arm. I have two other arms too as well, to be able to make sure I'm at the right place at the right time. But honestly, it's just a great time to serve. I want to thank you. It's not easy to serve in a capacity of elected official. Sometimes you get a lot of flack, but at the end of the day, keep the course. Keep it focused on your goals and your expectations as a collective body, and you'll make Pompano the biggest and better it's ever been. So God bless you. Any questions I'll take? Otherwise, I'll let you continue your meeting.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mayor Fisher. I appreciate your service for many, many years, and of course your family's dedication to our community, of course. And it goes without saying you are welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. This is indeed home in more ways than one. But yes, any questions from the commission? Anything at all? Vice Mayor?
I'm ecstatic to hear that, you know, the county wants to work with us to make sure we get that north corridor going with the train lines.
Yes.
And make sure we establish those things and try and get us all super mobile as soon as possible.
It is. And just to let you know, the focus has been with a 25-foot bridge over the New River, and then having what we call the cut and covers that will be at first at Sunrise and at Broward Boulevard, so it allows traffic to kind of go under the tracks and up. And that's the new wave, and there are grants available on the federal government side to do that, so that relieves the traffic going east and west, which made Mayor Trentalis very happy. And at the end of the day, so hopefully we'll be holding hands very soon. They'll be providing an LPA resolution, as well as we will do in August. So stay tuned. But time is of the essence, as you know, Mayor, with the current administration we have in Washington. It's imperative, and Commissioner Eaton knows with David, it's very imperative that we get the monies now, because we don't know in 2 years what's going to happen. So it's very imperative that we jump on this right now. So urgency and time is of the essence.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, of course, anything we can do to further further that process, of course, and the cut and cover that you're discussing with Fort Lauderdale, that's a very interesting concept, which I think we can talk about in Pompano Beach and elsewhere as the days go by. It's important for us all to make sure the transportation works both north and south and east and west, and that's been a focus here in Pompano Beach. We've been working towards that for years, as you know. I mean, you were part of the planning for what's what Pompano Beach is.
Sure.
But yes, we appreciate your service at the county level, and appreciate you keeping us in mind whenever little things come up that you can help with, or anything at all. But yes, thank you so much for all you do for us, and we appreciate you being here for your city.
All right. Blessings, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Very good. Thank you for that. That was great. All right. Next up on our agenda, we have legislative update. Edward Mahia, District Representative, and Jenna Moncrief, Interim Specialist from the Office of U.S. Representative Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, will discuss pre-legislative updates in support of Pompano Beach. Good afternoon. You can, that'd be great.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jenna Moncrief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and Commission for having us today. Today, we'll be giving a federal legislative update from the Office of Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, such as creating economic opportunity. Over $121 million in community initiative support letters to fight for funding to support local schools, districts, transportation services, healthcare services, and first responders. $5 million for safety improvements was delivered to Broward Metropolitan Organization for countywide safety improvements to prevent roadway deaths and serious injuries for safety improvements. Recently, $15.4 million grant was for Broward County for first ever round funding for infrastructure investment, Jobs Act's new railroad crossing elimination, RCE, grant program to help reduce train vehicle collisions. Fixing the housing crisis. Over $32 million requested this year to tackle the housing crisis in the Florida 20th District, including $3.9 million in rent and mortgage assistance and $3 million to more than double the capacity for Broward County overnight homeless shelter. Introduced the Federal Disaster Housing Stability Act of 2023, which could help keep renters and homeowners under their roofs in times of disaster. The historic flooding that hit the heart of Florida's 20th Congressional District in April 2023 was a reminder that we must be proactive about protecting the financial security of American families confronting the climate crisis, preserving families and saving lives. Introduced the Disposable Ends Product Enforcement Act of 2023 to keep dangerous disposable vapes away from children. Introduced the access to AED acts to help schools keep kids safe from sudden cardiac arrest, protecting our vets. As the Democratic leader for the Veteran Affairs Subcommittee on Technology Modernization for the 118th Congress, Congresswoman Sherfilis McCormick is committed to delivering on our promises to the veterans who sacrificed it all. Introduced the Healthy Foundations for Homelessness Veterans Act to help make sure every veteran has a home, and protecting our seniors. Fought to protect seniors for devastating Social Security and Medicare cuts. Supported legislation that capped insulin at $35 a month. That's all I have for today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and City Commission for your valuable time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here with the update. And I do want to say thank you to the Congresswoman. She's been doing a great job, number one, but for her hospitality, when I visited with her and staff, of course, up in Washington, she really took time to listen to our issues, and she seriously is engaged, and that's terrific. Also, look forward to welcoming her here to Pompano Beach on the 17th. I believe she'll be here July 17th as well to help with our groundbreaking, or not our ribbon cutting for our senior center, and as well as other issues we'll be dealing with that day. But yeah, thank you all very much for being here, and appreciate her great service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice one.
Yes, very good. Thank you. All right, very good. That takes care of that. That takes us up to our audience to be heard. Kervin, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 speakers.
Very good, thank you.
First speaker, Omri Ortez, followed by Paul Livingway, followed by Pat Anderson.
Very good. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record, if you will.
Yes, Amari Ortiz, 1899 Northeast 53rd, Miss Eaton's district. How are you? I wanted to address the commission. I thank you guys for having me here because It's something I've discussed with the city manager as well as Commissioner Eaton, and it's the illegal group homes that are operating in our communities. They're there unregistered with the city, unregistered with the state, and they continue to operate, bring in drug dealing, bring in patients that are in need of mental care, and unfortunately are not receiving it. One of these homes is the one that's located right next to me, and there has been attacks on my property. There has been people just coming over unannounced, and it's just a community needs to be a single-family community if that's what it is. And I understand the state has some protections for these homes, but I feel that there's something that has to be done, especially when they're an illegal business. They don't have a business tax. They don't have any registration. They don't have the proper zoning to be there. And it's putting not only our families in danger, but also the city as well, because it's something that the city is in charge of to make sure that these do not operate. This is something that code compliance, from my understanding, has done everything they can in their power. Mario has done what he can on that side, as well as Susan when she was there. They've done everything they can in their power, put them as much fines on this property as possible, and now it's something that I feel needs to go beyond that, and it's something that the city needs to address, not just in this instance, but also in all the other homes that aren't registered. They need to be addressed. They need to be removed, or they need to register and manage those homes properly.
Well, I completely agree, and I think you're preaching to the choir here with our city commission and city administration, because no, it's a big problem, and perhaps if Mario has exhausted all of his remedies, perhaps it's time we ask our city attorney to get involved and look at the possibility of filing foreclosure proceedings against it. If there are fines, we can move it up the ladder. So if I could ask you to get with Mr. Berman right over there and discuss this matter. Mr. Berman, have you got a business card?
Yes, I do. This is already being looked at by my office. Ms. Lyons in my office is taking care of this.
Okay, well, very good.
We also are going to explore every possibility, and there have been investigations, and basically we'll continue to monitor the situation. We're only aware of one, by the way, and this gentleman's aware of the one next door to him, and I don't know how many others there are. Just assume they're all over the city. That's not the case. We're looking at this one location, and we'll do everything possibly legally that we can do.
Very good.
Well, my understanding is they are, but they move out quickly because they usually rent the home, so the owners move them out. But
I understand you have personal knowledge of one.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you could get with Mr. Berman and just converse.
Well, and like I said, I was here to put it on the record just to make sure that
Sure.
everybody understands this is something that they can pick up from here and go on to the next one if they want.
Very good.
Mayor?
Commissioner Eaton?
Thank you. Thank you. Amari, we have spoken a number of times. And I sympathize with you. I empathize with you. I mean, I do have a sober home that's 4 houses down from me. And it's so important. We are so crammed in the area, just crammed in like sardines. And so it's important for your enjoyment of your property. And I can say that the city has enacted legislation, laws, codes, but we're confined by other regulations. And I appreciate you coming forward. I had a meeting just before this commission meeting, and I generally don't want to take up too much time in the audience to be heard, but we only have 3 speakers, so if personal privilege. So you will be followed up with
I understand.
as to how to go forward.
That's great.
And I just want to say that I'm sorry. We have the largest concentration of sober homes, recovery residents. We've worked on trying to reconvert homes that have been chopped up into duplexes and triplexes illegally over the years. And we deal with people who have RVs that are parked in the back of their yards, right up to the other neighbor's property, so they have no privacy and are just collecting rent. Landlords, 40% or more, 45% of the properties are rental properties in the Crest Haven and Highland areas. And those landlords, they don't care. They just want to collect that check at the end of every month. Some of them are multiple owners. Some of them have 10, 15 properties. They're large corporations. It's very difficult. I live in Crest Haven. As I said, I have a sober home, 4 houses down. And I have, for the last 5 years, been working to try and improve our community. And with bolstering some of our codes, putting more teeth into our ordinances so we can really get something done. It's long, it's a process, and like I said, I feel for you. I understand your pain, and I'm really sorry, but you will, when you get with staff, I'm in the loop now too, because we have to figure out how we can make it better.
And like I said, I understand the city manager made this very clear. There are certain federal protections.
Yes.
But my understanding is that's when they are registered, when they are
Correct.
actually legally
Agreed.
operating. And when
Agreed.
that happens, I imagine there's management of those homes.
Yes, and I think we're at the point where whether we have to do a formal resolution to enact policy where if you're not FAR certified, then you don't get your license to operate your business, because that's essentially what it is.
Well, they're making money every month, and there's no benefit to them to move forward with
Correct.
it.
No, it's,
Agreed.
but Mr.
So
Mr.
we will get with you. Sorry to take that time, Mayor.
Thank you.
That's all right, that's all right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you, Murray.
All right, next speaker is Paul Livingway.
Well, Mayor, just going to ask if Pat can go before Paul.
Oh, okay, that's, sure, go ahead. Call who, that's fine.
Okay.
Whoever.
Pat Anderson?
Hi,
Good afternoon.
I'm Pat Russell Anderson, and I'm here, I think it's about 6 years now we're on. So my sweetheart has told me to don't stress, treat it as a hobby. So I'm treating it as a hobby because Lady Gaga is one of my favorite on Instagram, and she pulled out her award. This is one award I got. I'm a shining star. And I love my community, but something very bad has happened. And it's with the Army Corps of Engineers now, that y'all have to pay attention. There was a smash to my property, okay? And it was left like that. I couldn't use it for 3 years. No one listened, but that's okay. They don't listen that much anyway. So anyway, what happened was it got worse. And it wound up with all this property free to my next door neighbors, Dunn and Janus. Okay? So during those 6 years of 50 non-permitted construction next door, we found out that there are 2 cities involved with these things called VAB, Value Adjustment Board, okay? And the zip codes got changed by Chris Ema of McLean and Ema, who is the real estate attorney for Irene Dunn and Joseph Janus. So what they did is they lived in Lighthouse Point for the 6 years and had the construction done in Pompano Beach at that vacant house next door to me, and they frauded the ERLs and Lighthouse Point. Everybody got frauded because they didn't go by the map that they had as property location. So time went on, and there are 50 permits that I've given to Lighthouse Point and Pompano. But what has happened is out of those 50, he has designed a Sunbiz. It's a construction company next door to me. So you have Irene Dunn, the manager, and you have Joseph Janus, the agent, for the company called RWB Alliance, LLC, Sunbez. Well, that's pretty disheartening. So that's that.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Appreciate it.
Can I say one more thing?
Quickly.
Okay. All the neighbors and I got together to one of the meetings on the house next door that has a complete opaque fence. It turned out to be a wall, a white plastic wall, and it's around my property too, and I hate it. So I painted Mike High stuff. I'm wearing a Mike High shirt that I've designed 20 years ago. I'm back with Mike High.
Very good.
I'm also the artist for Ball and Chain. And the Miguel Nunez's attorney was none other than Michael Peasy, who was one of the people down at the Ball and Chain trial under code harassment. And I have had code harassment, code enforcement, selective, it's been bad. So
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
when you drive by my house, you can see this artwork I
Okay,
did.
will do.
Please, you can see it from the
Thank
street.
you. Appreciate it.
Hugs.
Have a
It's
good
a
afternoon.
hobby.
Okay.
Paul
Very good.
Livingway.
And it's in the hands of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Next speaker.
I'm giving you all these things. I'm not giving you that.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Long time no see.
Yeah. His name and address for the record, sir.
On the 4th of July, I've lived here for 30 years, and most of those years I live at 812 North Ocean. I live privileged on the ocean. I went to my son's house, and I attempted to go back home at approximately 8:45. I got to 14th and A1A. The police had blockaded the street. I attempted to show my ID to an officer so that I could go home. I was blatantly told, move the car or go to jail. I moved the car, parked it, walked home. On the way home, I asked another officer what time I could pick up my car and go home. He told me, when the fireworks are over with. I'm sure you were there, I'm sure all of you were there, and at 9:30, the fireworks were over with. I won't go into all the details, but at 5 minutes to 11, I walked into my apartment. I would appreciate it if you would consider that those of us who have proper ID and can show that we live in the area that's restricted, that we could have access to go home. I sat there and watched hundreds of cars and thousands of people exiting the beach area, going home. I was not allowed to. That's that. I have a change of subject, which I'd like to ask you a question. On A1A and Atlantic Boulevard, on the northeast corner, is presently a huge parking lot. Is there any, I noticed in the Pompano magazine that the plans were on hold. Have they been finalized?
The area that the city currently uses for a parking area?
Yes, it's the
Yeah, that's privately owned by a developer, and it's been previously approved for development for many years, actually, so the development orders are still in existence.
If I may exceed the time, I would like to suggest that that area be squared off with a 25-foot sidewalk, a roof that extended out to the curb so that people walking around, the entire first floor would be retail. The second floor, the roof, would extend out to the edge of the sidewalk, have a lip on it that would encompass roll-it-in shutters that would then could be lowered during inclement weather, hurricanes, cold weather, and would provide an area for retailers to put out tables and chairs for people to eat outside, but be sheltered from the Florida sun. The second deck would be strictly parking. The third deck could be partially parking, and they could put high-rise, 2 floors, 20 floors, whatever they wanted. And like Lauderdale by the Sea and Delray, we would have an area near the beach where people can congregate. And the second floor would provide parking for the beach area as it does now. So it's just merely a suggestion that I've thought about over the years that I think would revitalize the area downtown, not downtown, but and the beach area, where we could have a similar to Lauderdale by the Sea and such. But thank you very much for your courtesy.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That concludes audience to be heard.
Very good. Thank you for that. Okay, that takes us up to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion approving items 2, 4 through 6, and 8 through 10?
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. That takes us up to item number 1, is an approval.
Approve the recommendation of the Selection Evaluation Committee for RFP E-18-23 Canal Clearing Boat and authorize staff to negotiate a contract with the sole proposer, Elastec, Inc.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. This item was pulled by Commissioner Fournier. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr. Ketchum. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Mick.
I just wanted to take this opportunity, since it's on the agenda, to make sure that this is the most cost-effective strategy for the city to clean the canals and to get kind of an update of the operations. So is this a replacement boat to an older boat that requires maintenance, or is this an additional boat?
Sure. Russ Ketchum, Director of Environmental Services. This boat will actually act as an additional boat. We are replacing an old boat, the spare boat, if you will. So this would become, once it arrives, the primary boat. The one that's currently in operation will be the secondary boat or the backup.
Okay, so this is an additional boat, but we are not getting rid of a boat.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
result. Oh, we are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I know that there are some neighboring cities that have outsourced this type of activity. So as we decide to purchase another boat, I just want to make sure we've looked at the numbers and understand the fully loaded cost of personnel, maintenance, fuel, boats, all of this for doing this ourselves versus the cost of outsourcing this activity. Have we ever looked at that?
Sure, absolutely. So, City of Deerfield Beach to our north, they do have it in-house. They only have 4 miles of canals, by the way. Ironically, we did an asset swap years ago where they needed a boat. We gave them one of our old boats, and we took one of their old trucks. Nevertheless, that boat's still in operation for them. The city moving further north, Boca Raton, they actually went out to bid in 2019. They received, I believe, 4 bids. One was $180,000 annually. The high bid was in excess of $900,000 annually. Our costs run under $100,000 a year, and that includes the asset, the boat, that labor, fuel. I put in nearly $15,000 for miscellaneous, who knows what costs. So the short answer is yes, and not only is it more cost effective, but it allows us to respond, which we do all the time, to issues of, issues that occur, floating debris and so forth, where the low bid, which was 4 Oceans for Boca Raton, they can only do that by contract twice a month. I would venture we sometimes do this 3-4 times a day. So, but the short answer is yes, we have done the analysis.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I represent a district that has miles and miles of canals, and I get a lot of inquiries of floating debris. And then when there's seaweed, there are times of year that it pools in certain ends of the canals. There are also a lot of landscaping companies that tend to use the canals as their dumpster. So it's important that we can react to these areas when they pop up. But I just wanted to make sure that we looked at the cost of this relative to the service. So thank you very much.
Understood.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Further commission discussion? Questions, concerns? Yes, I'll piggyback on that, yeah, we do get a lot of calls, Russ. I mean, as former District 3 City Commissioner, I dealt with those also, and it's a valuable resource to have our own staff, because, yeah, when you do get phone calls, when you get those sudden inundations of seaweed, it's good to have the flexibility to say, okay, well, go out to that well, I mean, I can't say to do that, but I ask, can you go out to that canal and clean the stuff up? It's a great asset. Thank you for that. Further commission discussion, questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 3 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving the city's 2023 through 24 CDBG and Home Annual Action Plan and authorizing the proper city officials to execute the local government certifications, specific CDBG certifications, optional certification, CDBG specific home certifications, and appendix to certifications, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. This item was pulled by Commissioner Perkins. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to know, what is the total cost we receive every year for this funding? How many millions?
Alex Goldstein, Program Compliance Manager, Office of Housing and Urban Improvement. The number of calls?
No. The amount that we receive for this particular resolution every year.
So every year, it's typically around 1.5 million between the two programs.
1.5?
CDBG and Home. So the breakdown this year is for CDBG, we're receiving $1,028,677, which is slightly increased from last year. And for Home, we have $508,172 in this fiscal year.
Okay. What happened to there were about 7 agencies, I guess, here that
Commissioner
mandatory-
Perkins, could I ask you to pull that microphone a little closer?
So how many out of that 7 people, these 7 people were not, they did not receive any funding because they did not attend the mandatory meeting?
So
And for it to be 7 people, I'm just trying to understand, how did 7 people not know about the meeting? And I'm sure there was a reason they didn't attend.
we had a public hearing, that's a mandatory public hearing that was published on our website and in the paper. These are the people that showed up, these organizations showed up. We have a few organizations, typically we have 10 to 16, 17 organizations that show up every year to our workshop. This year we had, I believe, roughly about 13 actually show up and present. So let's see. So we had Light of the World, Women in Distress, Covenant House Florida, Broward Partnership for the Homeless, the Crockett Foundation, Second Chance Society, Russell Life Skills, and Reading Foundation. We had the City of Pompano Beach's Parks and Rec program for their senior Meals on Wheels. And the others did the Choices Network, Broward Housing Solutions, and We Care did submit an application online but did not attend our mandatory meeting, and the CDAC committee did not hear their proposals.
Well, how did you go about informing them about the mandatory meeting?
It's advertised the same way we do it every year to all of our subrecipients. And we hold a workshop, we hold multiple workshops for people that are new and that may need assistance in figuring out how to apply. We hold a separate workshop for Home and CDBG.
Yeah, I notice what we do is we give the same people every year, some of these agencies, the award every year. And I've stated the last year when we discussed this that we need to consider giving some of the local-based groups an opportunity or a chance for some of this money, just the small groups in the community, because I don't know the output of these agencies that receive this money every year. So I think I suggested last year that we give at least 20% to local small businesses. But I'm constantly asking your department to contact me when these funds and everything are available, which I don't know. And when people call, it's always when they call your office, there's no funding, you missed the deadline. I'm still getting that in the community. We didn't know about it, so And as I stated, there's a different way to reach certain people, in my district, that everybody's not online, everybody don't have all this information. So if you could keep me informed about when some of these programs become available for community development or for housing and SHIP. If you can keep me informed, and I can let the community know so they can apply for some of this money. Because I noticed some of the agencies here requested a certain amount, and you gave them more than that amount.
No,
Is that not true?
it's not accurate. No,
Well, where it says recommendation, is that the amount they're receiving, or is
So the first column, you'll see the amount requested, and the second column is what they had received in the prior fiscal year. So the third column is OHUI's recommendation based on the subcommittee that scored the applications, and you'll see there in the CDAC recommendation column, that is the CDAC recommendations.
Oh, okay, I see what you did. You added
So,
the balance. Okay.
Based on the complete applications that we received, this year we were almost able to give everybody the full funding that they had requested just because we only had, I believe,
Small amount
8
that,
instead of the typical
Right.
10 to 20, 10 to 12 that we get.
right. So the recommendation is the amount, whereas Light of the World received 20,000, Women in Distress received 15,000. Covenant,
Women
that's
in-
the amount that they're
that's-
rewarded.
Yeah, that's
awarded.
what they had in their application, that's what they requested, and that's what
Okay,
they were
got
awarded.
it,
Yeah.
Got it, okay. All right. Thank you, that's all the questions I have for you.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Further commission questions, discussion? Commissioner Eaton.
Thank you, Alex. So these funds will be available October 1st.
Correct. And just to let you know, OHUI on July 3rd, it's on our website. We recently opened our waiting list for our housing rehabilitation program. We are opening it up to 200 people. So the first 200 names that we receive on that waiting list, there is a link on our website. The waiting list is being hosted by Neighborly Software. It's being done online. There is also on our website a step-by-step instructional manual that people can use to register with Neighborly to get their name on the waiting list. And the waiting list will remain open until we do reach the 200 names.
All right, thank you. That was perfect.
Very good. If someone doesn't have access to a computer, can they come by your office and get on the wait list?
Absolutely, Mayor. Yes, so we actually recently just, for that purpose alone, we have a little mini kiosk outside of OHUI's offices with 2 computers, so by appointment, people who do not have access to the internet or, for whatever the case, they're elderly, they don't understand how to do it, we're happy to sit down with them. We have 2 computers set up outside where a staff member could help them in getting their name on the waiting list.
That's a great
Gathering
option.
all of the documents that they need.
Very good. That's a great option. Thank you. Just want to make sure that it was available for folks who aren't connected to the internet, which there are folks out there who, like you said, elderly folks and just who don't participate that way. Very good. Further commission discussion, questions,
Yes,
concerns?
Mayor.
Commissioner
Can you repeat
Perkins.
What you were saying about July 3rd, you said there was a waiting list for what again? What
This is
type
for
of housing?
this is for the housing rehabilitation program.
Okay.
Yes, so that has been open. It's currently open, and you can go onto our website right now. You'll see on our homepage. It's the first item on OHOI's homepage. You can link to the application and the step-by-step instructional manual.
So is there a deadline, or are you just wanting to get 200 people and then
Until we get to the 200 people, then the waiting list will close to the public, and then we will start beginning to contact those people who are on the list to have them fill out the full application and go through the entire process.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just to be,
Go ahead.
just to be clear, though, I mean, you're stopping the sign up at 200, but there's no guarantee you're going to fully fund 200.
No, absolutely.
I just want to be clear to the
No,
public that if you.
We do ask for more people to come in and put their name on the waiting list because we find that the majority of them are ineligible for some reason. So we'd like to have more names than, we do funding just in case. So, and the people that we don't get to that are eligible will be added to the waiting list next year.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to have people standing at this podium saying, well, I was one of the 200 didn't get funded. So I want to make sure that we're clear.
Everybody on the waiting list will be contacted by our staff that are, and if they are ineligible, There's a pre-application process that is the waiting list, basically. So when you go to sign in the waiting list, there's a mini application, a pre-application, that it will basically tell you if you answer a question, say you're over income. Are you over this income? And then it'll stop you right there and say you are ineligible for this program. No need to continue. So we have, requirements, that, and while they're filling out the pre-application, it lets them know if they would be eligible or not. If they are eligible, they finish the pre-application, they'll be added to the waiting list, and they will be contacted by a member of our staff to complete the full rehab application.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Eaton?
Yeah, and what is the total funding for this program, rehabilitation?
Yeah, so between CDBG, home, and CHIP, for rehab, we have approximately $1,123,815 for housing rehabilitation.
And are we still do we have any programs for rental assistance?
We do. Our emergency rental assistance program is still currently open. That program, I do want to mention, is tied to the COVID relief funding. So people who apply for our emergency rent assistance do have to have a COVID hardship and meet the income requirements. We have a flyer on our website for that as well that details all of the other, necessary requirements for that program. And if they have any questions, they could reach out to our office. But yes, we are currently accepting applications for our emergency rental program as well.
Fantastic, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier?
One quick clarifying question. If I had previously sent people to your office for this grant money and they were told that the wait list was closed at that time, do they need to come back and do this, or was their information captured and will be populated into this wait list?
We have reached out to people that have, been sent to us by commissioners or have been audience to be heard members. We do keep track of those, and we do reach out to them and let them know that we have our waiting list is open. We actually tell the public, call our office, every month, every couple weeks. We'll, give you updates. It's on our website. So yeah, we do reach out to those people who had tried to apply while the list was closed. We do our best, but if you have anybody that comes to you, please do send them to us, and we're happy to assist them in getting onto the waiting list.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion, questions? Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 7 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a second amendment to the agreement between Broward County, the City of Pompano Beach, and other participating municipalities for participation in the Consolidated Regional E-911 Communication System, and a second amendment to the Regional Interlocal Agreement between Broward County and the City of Pompano Beach, providing for cooperative participation in a regional public safety intranet, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second discussion. For discussion, this item was pulled by Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Chief. So this call center has been a topic of conversation for a while, so I thought it was worth just discussing things. Obviously, the people of Pompano Beach need their calls answered immediately and consistently so that help is dispatched. Is this an extension or just a realignment of timing among cities that we are approving today?
Thank you, Commissioner. Chad Brocado, Fire Chief. To answer your question, it's really more about the timing because the original agreement holds true. This is an amendment to that, so of course it's going to amend the changes that it mentions. Mostly it's about the timing. We are working on the communications all the time. While I was on vacation, I signed in my role as the president of the Fire Chiefs Association, I signed a letter advocating for some changes to the system. It's difficult, but in brief, the hardest, worst emergencies will be dispatched a little bit faster. That is a good and a bad thing. Why is it good? Well, if you're having a heart attack, you want us to come to you quickly. But if we don't have a lot of information, then that heart attack might not actually be a heart attack because they didn't get all the information. So we are perpetually going through changes in the system all the time. We do really have a voice. I don't have a direct voice. I, of course, can't tell the sheriff what to do, nor do I want to. I can't tell the county what to do, nor do I want to. But we do have a direct voice through the Fire Chiefs Association and through another group called the Operational Review Team, or ORT. And so I think we've been making positive progress. Certainly the staffing shortages have all been addressed. So I think over time, if we keep monitoring this. We're going to continue to see some improvements as each of these changes is implemented.
Okay, thank you. You had sent me a link at one point with the monthly I think, scorecards or reports on this call center. So I did a little exercise because I haven't heard many complaints about it. And 2022 was pretty bad, but December 2022 being like abysmal. But 2023 has really shown a lot of improvement. So I'm hopeful that some of these systemic changes that we heard about, at the beginning of the year are actually proving themselves out in the data, and that it looks like the call center is kind of meeting a lot of their goals at this point. So thought that was interesting data to share. I'm sure you track it also. I know you do.
I would absolutely agree with you.
Thank you.
There's a national trend behind this as well, that some of the talk behind call processing at 1 minute forgot that part that I was just telling you about, where the more questions we ask, the better capable we are to send the appropriate unit to those calls. So I think you're going to see this flesh out over the next 6 to 12 months on a national level, and they're going to change that guideline. Right now it's 1 minute. They're likely going to change that guideline to 2 minutes, literally because some of the things that are going on within our own hometown.
Thank you very much.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion? Question, Commissioner Perkins?
We definitely need to make some changes for the 911 calls. Just Monday of this week, I wasn't looking at my phone, but there was an incident on Monday around 12:30, that's July 10th, where a lady collapsed or just fell out. This was on 31st and Atlantic at the Moorlands Academy. And they called 911 and never got an answer. So the paramedics came because they called Captain Stallings. But they never got a call. No one picked up for the 911 call. And thank God they knew Captain Stallings, that they can call him and he can move on it fast. Because when they sent me the text, I didn't recognize it right away. But that's like a lifeline. And when people call 911, if nothing else, they expect you to pick up. And no one ever picked up. So if someone can get back with me on that as to what happened, what transpired that the 911 call was not picked up on July 10th around 12:30.
Absolutely. I'll look into it, then I'll get back with you.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Very good. Further commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, that takes us up to our regular agenda. Item 11 is quasi-judicial in nature. Mr. Berman will discuss the procedures we will use. Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mayor. Should anyone wish to testify in item number 11, they must be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination either by the City Commission or by interested parties to the matter. Individuals who address the City Commission should state their name and whether they have been sworn. City staff will make its presentation first, followed by the applicant or anyone else who wishes to testify. Following the concluding remarks of the applicant, the hearing will be over and the City Commission will make its consideration at that time. All those who wish to testify on item number 11, please stand at this time, raise your right hand, and the city clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence or testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank
Very
you.
good. This item 11 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, abandoning a certain 15-foot strip of right-of-way lying on the west side of Dixie Highway between Northwest 15th Place and Northwest 15th Court, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good afternoon, Ms. Dolan.
Afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners, Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading of the abandonment of 15 feet of excess right-of-way on Dixie Highway between Northwest 15th Place and Northwest 15th Court. There have been no changes since first reading, and I'm available if you have any additional questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
No.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, that ends our quasi-judicial proceedings. Item 12 is an approval.
Approval to award bid E-22-23 runway 10-28 safety enhancements to the lowest responsible bidder, Ranger Construction Industries, at a cost of $3,659,398.88, with the air park cost share only $182,969.
So moved?
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Rocco.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Steve Rocco, Airport Manager. This item before you is to seek approval to award to the lowest bidder, Ranger Construction, the construction of the runway 28 safety enhancements at the air park. The FAA recommended in the approved air park master plan a project to mitigate and reduce potential aircraft runway incursion conflicts at Hotspot 2 at the intersection of runway 28 and 33. This project will reduce a wide expanse of pavement that creates confusion for pilots. The city has applied for and is expected to receive 90% funding from the FAA for this construction project. Staff recommends approval of the award, this bid, so we can negotiate a contract, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concerns? Let's see, I got Commissioner Eaton first and Commissioner Fournier. Commissioner?
Yes. Okay, so my question is, how are we obtaining these funds? It says we're getting a grant from the FAA, 3.293. When do we get that grant? Are we outlaying funds up front and waiting for the FAA to reimburse us? Because it does say it is coming out of a particular account number.
So we will receive the grant first before we outlay any funds. We have applied for the grant with the FAA. I've been told by the FAA that we will receive this grant. Once we get that grant, then we will move forward. We won't expend any funds until we get the grant from the FAA.
Great, thank you very much.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Rocco. A couple quick questions. Has the hotspot mitigation plan been discussed with ATC? I kind of view them as the eyes and ears at the air park there, and I recall when Mr. McCon and I were in the tower, they had some thoughts on the plan.
Yes. During the master planning process, the air traffic control tower personnel were involved with the FAA in discussing hotspot mitigation 1 and hotspot mitigation 2.
Okay. Will there be impacts on runway and airport operations when this work is underway?
We anticipate minimal disruptions. There will be a period in time during this construction that we do have to close 2 runways. When we close runway 1533 and runway 1028, 624 will be the only available runway. We anticipate that to be about a 30-day process, but we will have 1 runway open at all times.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Questions? Commissioner Moss?
The city's, or it says the air park share of this is basically $183,000. Where does that $183,000 come from? Is it out of the general fund?
No, it's out of the Air Park Enterprise Fund.
And how is that fund funded?
Through all of the rents and fees that the air park receives from all the tenants on the field.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, what's the balance of that fund right now?
It's it begins with about $1.5 million a year.
Right now, 1.5 million?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Very good. Further questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Item 13 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute an agreement for professional consulting services between the City of Pompano Beach and Carollo Engineers, Inc. to provide professional consulting services for an electrical master plan update and design for the city's water treatment plant, 5 kV electrical system, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Brown.
Afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This electrical master plan for the water plant is designed to replace some equipment from the 70s and 80s. It is antiquated and very hard to get parts for. We're looking to increase our redundancy with this program we have 3 generators. One runs half the plant and the 2 run the other half. With this new master plan, we'll be able to intertie them automatically so that they all 3 can work throughout the plant. So we'll have increased dependability through our electrical backup.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concern? Commissioner Eaton.
Yes, hi, Randy. So in the consent agenda number 5, we just approved a contract for hump repair. Is this, this is not, anything is repairable here?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, the number 5 is for repair of electrical motors when we need them rewound or a lightning strike to them. So it's for repair of smaller motors.
Mm-hmm. Did you anticipate spending that entire $150,000?
Hope not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Brown. This does sound like a lot of money, but I guess the way I look at this is these are infrastructure upgrades required to either increase the life expectancy or redundancy and safety of our facilities. Is that how you view these projects? And if so, what kind of position does this put us in going forward? Because when I read about other cities and the amount they need to spend on water treatment plants in the future, it'd be nice to know that if we continue to do upgrades like this, that we are in good shape for the foreseeable future.
That's a good question, and I did leave out that benefit is that as we upgrade to one whole electrical 5 kVA, that we will be upgrading the system to use with the current treatment plant and future treatment plants as we look to evolve with regulations and demands and the like. So it will be usable now and in the future.
Okay. What is the life expectancy of our water treatment plant? Do you know? Do we have an idea?
Well, it's well maintained, so it continues, but regulations are changing, making it difficult for the older plant to meet new regulations.
It becomes harder to retrofit things, but these type of projects, I think, certainly increase the chance of doing that. So thank you.
Very good. Further commission questions? Commissioner Moss.
And again, the funds for this is coming out of funds that water users pay, is that correct?
That's correct. No taxes, just the water revenues.
Great, thanks.
Very good. Further commission questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call a roll.
Commissioner Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Item 14 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 152 Buildings of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 152.21 Definitions to add and delete definitions, by amending Section 152.27 Variance and Appeals to modify a cross-reference, by amending Section 152.29 Flood-Resistant Development of Buildings and Structures to add regulations for accessory structures, and by amending Section 152.32, manufactured homes, to remove surplus language, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon. Once again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading of the minor clarifications being made to Chapter 152. There have been no changes since first reading, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions? Seeing none, let's call a roll.
Commissioner Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes, item 15 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute an interlocal agreement between the town of Lauderdale by the Sea and the City of Pompano Beach for fire rescue, suppression and prevention services, and emergency medical services, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Fire Chief Bricado.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. This is Fire Chief Chad Bricado Curvin. I have no changes since the last reading, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. We appreciate that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions? Concerns? I think it's a great idea. It's going to benefit Lauderdale by the Sea and the city of Pompano Beach. Hats off to you and your folks for putting the whole thing together, and welcome to the family, so to speak, to the folks in Lauderdale by the Sea. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 16 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 92 Cemeteries of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 92.01 Definitions, by amending the definition of plot size, by amending Section 92.02 Designation of North, South, and West Lawns to revise the description of the square footage and acreage of the cemetery, by amending Section 92.05 Exemptions and Modifications to remove obsolete language, by amending Section 92.06 Cemetery Hours to amend the hours for the cemetery office, by amending Section 92.32 Plot Prices and Service Charges to delete the table for same, and by amending Section 92.42 Interments, Disinterments, and Removals to add Juneteenth as a city holiday and modify the hours of interments, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. McCon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission, Rob McCon, Public Works Director. The second reading of Chapter 92, which governs the municipal cemetery. There's been no changes since the first reading. That concludes my comments, subject to your questions. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Are there any questions or questions from the public? Any public input? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission questions, concerns, anything at all? Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 17 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 70, General Provisions of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 70.11, illegally parked vehicles, to modify fines for unlawful parking in a time-limited parking zone, and amending Chapter 76, Parking Meters by amending Section 76.07, time-limited parking zones, and Section 7608, Enforcement, to modify language for certain acts prohibited in such zones, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Lance.
Afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, Jeff Lance, Parking Manager. Item before you this afternoon is an ordinance to amend Chapter 70 in general provisions of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinance by amending 7011, 7607, 7608, which is enforcement of time-limited parking zones. The intent of this ordinance will be to increase the fine for vehicles who occupy delivery zones outside of posted delivery times. This issue is most common in the fishing village, where large delivery vehicles commonly occupy loading zones well past posted delivery times, which impedes traffic on the roadway, and in many cases can create a pedestrian issue on the walkways. The current fine for these violations is $45, which always goes unnoticed and unpaid. It is our hope that by increasing the fine for this violation, we'll have a larger impact on the behavior of those who most commonly disregard our posted loading zone hours. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concerns? I've got a couple of questions that have, I'm sure that you have talked to the merchants in the area about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they're in agreement?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned that the current fines are pretty much ignored and go unpaid. Now, what is going to change going forward? I don't care what we make the fine. If it goes unpaid, it's going to have no impact. So how are we modifying things going forward so that they'll pay it?
Well, actually paying it, the fine itself is not the intent. The intent is to keep them out of the loading zone after those posted delivery hours. We will continue to issue violations, of course, citations when it occurs. We just hope that the more punitive nature of that fine might get attention more than the $45 fine.
Mayor?
Mr. Berman?
Excuse me, excuse the interruption. I just want to point out that we've added language in the ordinance to make it more enforceable. It now says, in addition to the increased fine, it says, in addition, any vehicle found in violation may be immobilized by the city or towed by the city's authorized towing provider if the vehicle is impeding or obstructing the safe movement of other vehicles or pedestrians. So if we get a vehicle that has several outstanding violations, they can be immobilized. And I believe that is the specific answer to your question.
But, Mr. Berman, could they not have been immobilized previously?
Didn't say it in the ordinance, but now it does, so.
I thought, as part of our parking ordinance overall, we
If
had
they had enough.
immobilization.
Yes, if they had enough, it could have been if they were keeping track, but now they're going to keep specific track of the.
So in other words,
in this zone.
so previously, we could have immobilized them as well.
My understanding, you can, yes. If
Okay.
you have a certain amount, whatever the amount is.
So previously, we could immobilize them, and we'll continue to be able to immobilize them. So I'm just, my point is, and I understand, we're not looking for fines, we're looking for compliance, and just increasing the fines, it seems to me that if we really had the agreement and participation of the merchants, they could simply say, they will not accept delivery except during these hours. Have we thought about that procedure?
We've tried. I've met with Lou, I've met with Andy, I've met with Alan from the Hilton. I have to say that they've probably done all they can. They said that they've pressed. This has gone on for a couple of years now. Problem continues, however.
Well, but if a truck shows up and they won't accept their delivery.
Well, they have pressed their vendors to show up during those delivery times.
Okay.
I have been told that in certain occasions, if somebody forgets to order something, it's an emergency, it's a Friday night, they're going to accept that delivery.
Okay, I'll beat it up all I'm going to beat it up. I've got Commissioner Fournier, and then I'll come back to Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It strikes me that immobilizing one of these vehicles is the absolute last thing we want to do. I was down there this weekend, and one of these trucks at 9 p.m. was blocking the road, and everyone was screaming at the truck, and I had this in mind, what will this actually do to change the situation? And I'm not sure it would do anything unless there is buy-in from the merchants that they're not going to accept deliveries, because that's really the only way to stop this from happening. I mean, I think it's fine that we do this, but the deliveries, it happens so quickly too that I think you're going to have a hard time finding these trucks and writing this ticket. They'll deliver it and be on their way before they get this ticket. So I thank you for this, but I think it's going to be a continuing process.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
My suggestion would be is that we put signage up with the enhanced price on it. So no loading, and let them know that is no longer a $45 ticket if that's what they've gotten used to. And make sure that it's there and in their face that they're making that choice. And then also, when we roll it out, hardline implement it for a while to make sure that they fully understand that we mean it.
And with commission approval, I plan to meet with the restaurants and all the vendors in that area again and remind them that this is going to start. You might want to remind your vendors.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Berman?
Yes, sir.
This is probably a question for you. Would it be legal for our parking enforcement folks to issue a ticket but also put a big piece of self-sticking paper on somebody's windshield?
It's not illegal. I mean.
So I'm just trying to figure out a way to
The issue is we don't want to cause damage to the vehicle.
No. You could scrape it off with a razor blade.
I don't see where it would be illegal.
Okay, I'm just thinking of ways to get people's
Look into it,
attention.
but I don't see any reason why it would be.
Okay, thank you. I got Commissioner Fournier next, and I'll come back to Vice Mayor.
Sorry, in the interest of brainstorming ideas, is it possible to fine a merchant for accepting a delivery after hours instead? It's not necessarily a parking issue, but it's just something that actually is addressing the problem we have, which is that they're accepting after-hour deliveries.
That's a policy determination to be made. It's possible. It's up to the commission, and if you're going to do it, I would suggest it would be done before October 1st, or we'd have to do an impact study on that.
Right.
Just brainstorming ideas.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
And I was just thinking, you're talking about like that orange sticker that they put on the cars on the side of the road that's just really hard to peel off. I think they usually put it on the window so you could still see it, but
Yeah, but if it was on the windshield, it'd probably get their attention a whole lot better.
either way.
Of course, that
Yeah.
would probably impede the movement of the vehicle, which is what we want. We want the vehicle out of there. They would have to take time to scrape it off while they're sitting there blocking traffic. But we are just brainstorming ideas. Commissioner Eaton?
Or try to drive and create a liability.
Yeah, well, then,
The city pastes it on there, and then they get into an accident because they can't see, because they're not going to wait. And I think most restaurants are not going to refuse their deliveries. They need them, they want them, they need their beer and alcohol and all those types of deliveries. But I do think that it might be worth finding the merchant. I agree. That's where I'm thinking. And if, and they're obviously going to take it, but, so I would go that route.
I expect we're all about to get phone calls from a few folks. But that's something we can explore. Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes. Item 18 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a community aesthetic feature agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and FDOT for installation of painted murals on Interstate 95 overpass columns under Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard pursuant to the Mosaic Team Term 3 project, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Tria.
Good afternoon, Laura Atria, Public Art Program Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. So this, the resolution for the design was actually on the consent agenda today under item 5. And this is just what we need to do to move forward with FDOT so that we can sign that CAFA agreement and start our project.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. I was trying to pull up, you said the design was in the backup? I didn't, that's what I was trying to pull up to see. Is there any way we can get it up? Because
That was item number 5 on the consent, I believe. Is that correct?
The design was item under number 5 on the consent. It is also part of this agreement as well. I don't know if it's in the backup here.
yeah, like I was looking for it.
If you go to item number 5 under consent, it'll definitely be under there.
I mean, I got 3 minutes, so I don't think.
But
yeah, but
I could answer any other questions for you.
I mean, I would like to see when, especially when Public Arts comes up to give presentations, that board to show us what it looks like, because if we're not pulling it up on there, we don't have time, we don't see it. And this is a very huge project leading into a historically Black community. I would like to see it, what everyone would see coming into that community. It's a huge project, and I haven't seen it, but nonetheless, I want to make sure that I'm stating that this project is very huge and historic. I don't know the public arts people necessarily that has went through this. I'm not a big fan of the public art here in Pompano, so I'm going to put that on. I love the art, but I don't think it's as inclusive as it could be. With that project, I really hope it has some intention behind it, with it being on a historically Black community, and it's coming in, people coming into our community and leaving out on that. So that's my input on that. I'm gonna try to pull it up, but I hope it's nice.
I add, so also part of that, I think one of the reasons too, so for this item, it's just for the 27 columns, but the actual piece, which was under item 5, includes 100 mosaics that are going to be installed on either side of the sidewalks, kind of leading into it, and then into these beautifully painted murals that are going to be on the columns. And the theme is Patterns of Pompano. So the artist kind of researched different, we had some, what was it? it's slipping my mind right now, but they researched just different way peoples have used patterns throughout generations, and she's making very sure to make sure that she's taking the integrity of Pompano and both sides and weaving them together. And I think when you see the actual proposal, you'll kind of get a better feeling. The artist was here earlier, and she actually stepped out after the first item passed. I wish she was here to better explain it.
So the patterns are for quilt patterns, or just ideas of hers as far as patterns, or quilt patterns from people from Pompano?
Based as inspiration. So remember at the, I think it was at Ally, we had that quilt, and then it was also at Baca. So she took a lot of photos of that and used that as her inspiration for a lot of the design she's doing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Sonia Finney, 173 Northwest 15th Street, Pompano. Just following up to what the person before me said, I think it would be helpful. I think she raises a very good issue. If this, I mean, you're talking about a very, big piece of the history of Pompano, and I think for a vote to be taken without, I don't know, was it put up, the picture put up earlier? I wasn't here for the consent.
There's a picture in the backup for item number 5. We're actually on item number 18, which really deals with just a contract between us and the Florida Department of Transportation to allow us to move forward with a project. The concept was actually on item number 5, which was under consent, which that got passed unanimously. Nobody wanted to pull it and look at it, but I mean, it's here. I mean, if
Can we pull, I mean, because you asked, could we pull it up? Can it be put
well,
up?
that's item number 5. It's already been approved. I mean, I'm happy to let you take, I mean, if anybody wants to look at it, item number 5. But like I said, this is item 15, which really is just the contract.
I understand that, but I'm just saying if they're connected and you had it available then, is it too difficult to just put it up now so that?
It's a different item. I don't know if we can put it on the, I'm happy to let you look at it, but that, like I said, this is really, it's.
I mean, from what I see here, you're saying patterns. I don't see anything that represents at least the history and culture. I grew up here in Pompano, so from what I see here, I mean, I think that maybe we should get to see that. I mean, the community, I mean, at least we should be able to see what's going into, this is the Northwest community we're talking about, MLK Boulevard. I think we should have some input and say, and I mean, the idea, was it presented, Commissioner Perkins, was this idea shown? Presented to the community?
No, not at all.
Have you presented it to the Northwest community? I mean, it is in our area.
No, not at all. I think,
Go,
in order?
go ahead, Commissioner Perkins.
Yeah, there is a art committee, and this came before the art committee. I want to say Marie Goodrum is on that board, and one other person, I'm not sure if it's.
So they were in agreement with it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, so I mean, I was just following up because she was asking. I know that she's very involved in the art that happens here too, so I just thought it would be nice for us to get to see what it looked like, but if we've got bought it,
Well, I did ask from the beginning when this came before us a few months ago that we have some input on the design based on the surrounding area. However, seems to be, it was not done. So this pattern, I'm just having a difficult time trying to understand how this pattern relates to the surrounding area as far as history. Now, if you're using a pattern throughout the entire city, I understand that. But when it comes to art, I think what the community wants you to consider is that so much of our history has been taken away from us. It's gone forever. And this would be a great start to put a little bit of that into this art. Would have been a good idea. And perhaps I should have pulled number 5, and I did not. But my question was, I didn't see the design earlier, but now that I'm looking at it, I would have loved to have seen something that would connect more with the history of that surrounding area. In other words, you would put a fish around Pompano because all of Pompano can relate to a fish because it's named after, Pompano is named after a fish. However, in this particular area is basically where all of our history were. On the right side of this, or I should say on the west side of the overpath 595, when I was a little girl, that was our bowling alley. A lot of people don't know that. And just across the street was the Loveland Theater. where we had a movie theater indoor. All of that is gone. So this would have been a great project to bring some of that history back in the print of this.
I agree. I grew up in that very same area off of 11th Avenue as a little girl, and there was a Dairy Queen on the corner. There was a number of different black businesses and things all along that corridor. So what I just saw from a distance doesn't reflect the history from what I grew up with in Pompano. So I think you should possibly, I don't know if there's a way to go back and reconnect with the community, get the Northwest community involved to make sure that our history is reflected in that design. Just saying.
And then you're coming back for a second reading, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you make sure that maybe the artist is here?
Yes.
So she could hear what we're concerned about and what we like to see? I'm not sure if it's too late to change this or add to it or however we can make it.
Definitely, like I said, she was here earlier, so when the actual design passed, she left because she didn't know she would need to speak again. So I'll definitely make sure she comes next time, and I'll have the presentation up as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
That would be helpful, thank you.
Very good. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concern? Commissioner Eaton.
Yes. Just getting to think about the city as a whole, you think, your committee and your group might think of, consider in the future some art at the North Pompano Park? We have a fish there, I think. Or murals at the Highland Park, Sand and Spurs Park, Cresthaven Park. There's nothing there. I mean, there's a lot of walls, a lot of blank walls. It might be a good spot. So, and if it's okay with everyone else, I'd like to get some public art up on the north end of the city.
Actually, we're going to start working on, because our 10-year master plan ends soon, so I want to start doing 5 years after that. So new projects will start coming in. So when we start working on that, I would love to individually meet or together as a group meet and discuss ideas and locations that you guys are interested in to place some new artwork.
Well, as just said, parks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Vice Mayor McGee.
I think that'd be a great idea, is to more often than we do meet with you and sort of discuss what we see, where it is needed, where it's not needed for our districts, instead of just when it's already come this far through or at master plan time. I think throughout the year, I would love to chat with things like even when ideas hatch, or what do we think of doing something like this, and sort of touch base. On this one specifically, is there part of the scope, are we going to pressure wash everything underneath there to make it really pop? Because I did love the colors on this one, I thought. But then I was looking at the concrete behind it, and I was like, we should really either paint or pressure clean this.
Oh, yes, it'll be pressure washed before we apply it.
I mean, like the slope behind.
Oh, I'll make sure to do that too, even though we aren't painting on that. We'll
Yeah.
just spruce up the whole area.
Yeah, so it looks fresh and clean, and like the whole, the space around the space looks inviting as well. I think that'd be a nice touch if
And something to add too with the colors, when you're driving west, it kind of goes from like blues to beaches to more of the western scenery, like western colors that you see, like sunsets, and vice versa. So while you're driving both directions, you kind of have a different effect of the color patterns.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, and maybe you couldn't see it from further away, but the patterns, the orange on pink or blue on green, it looked nice. But yeah, I noticed the surrounding space. So I think if we can pressure wash everything, it'll just really make it pop.
Perfect.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Mosh.
I have to lend my voice to Commissioner Eaton. I mean, I've said this more times than I cared to, but again, there's a place called District 5, and it is a donor district that sends more money to you than you send to us, so I'd like you to keep that in mind in the future. I complain about this all the time, and still nothing happens. And I think the northern part of the city is an excellent place to put some more art.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Mayor?
Commissioner Perkins.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Also, I think I brought up a while back, another location for artwork would be on Copens Road. There's a wall, I guess that's in front of the McDonald's and the Mercedes dealership. That wall would be perfect for artwork. and if not artwork, it just needs to be cleaned. It's just not a beautiful sight when you're driving down Copens Road with that wall covering, I think it's Leisureville. So that would be a great place to start artwork as well.
We looked into that, and because of what that wall is made out of, we can't paint it. We would have to put actual something on top of it, like something to fabricate and place on it, which would be, it's very large too, so it'd be an extensive funding would be needed. But I do agree that we could figure out a way to get it washed and pressure cleaned.
Actually, the county just did that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
It's done.
Yeah. We wanted to put art, though. We looked. It's just that because of the material, doing a mural or something like that just wasn't going to work.
Wasn't working? Okay, all right, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion, questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
No.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 19 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, adopting the policy to require projects in the East Transit-Oriented Corridor and the Downtown Pompano Transit-Oriented Corridor that consist of 7 units or more in size to utilize Broward County mixed-income housing density bonus policies and directing implementation of said policy, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Ms. Dolan.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Jean Dolan, Development Services. So this item 19 and also 20 and 21 are companion items, packaging together our affordable housing policy package. So a little history first. The City Commission did direct us to look at raising the in lieu of fee. So how that fee came about in September of 2013, we were initially tasked with coming up with the methodology for this in lieu of fee, which we hired a consultant to do, and they did it based on a gap analysis, which looks at the gap between what a certain level of income can afford and what the market is providing. So based on that analysis, that's how the $2,333 per unit came about. And that fee has not been changed since it was adopted. So using that same gap analysis, the current fee would be all the way up to $27,708. And that big jump is because of many factors. Even though there's been a 46% increase in median income since 2014, there's also been an 84% increase in median sales price, a 44% increase in interest rates, and an increase in how much of your monthly payment has to go to taxes and insurance. At the time this analysis was done, it was assumed to be 80-20, and now it's more like 50-50, so you have even less money available on what you can afford to go towards a mortgage. So the first thing to realize is that we've already really cut back on where you can use this buyout fee. So as you know, in our mixed income housing ordinance, we have a policy to deconcentrate poverty where we already have a lot of tax credit subsidized housing. So we drew a half-mile circle radius around all of our existing tax credit projects, and inside those circles, you don't have to do affordable, so there's nothing to buy out of. So inside those circles, the blue areas you see on the map are the only areas that are still eligible to buy out. Those are comp plan amendments that require 15% affordable. The other areas that you see along the corridors in red, we've already passed a policy that requires them to use county policies 216, 3, and 4 if they're asking for more than 50 flex units. So they don't have an opportunity to buy out using our buyout fee either. So we've already really reduced where you have to or you can buy out to those areas outside of the circles, and even a lot of those areas are also restricted. So knowing we want to raise this fee, but we also don't want to create a lot of unintended consequences, we're proposing a package of policies to move this idea forward. The first is to expand our policy to use policy 216, 3, and 4 to include the downtown and the East Transit-Oriented Corridor, which were two of those blue areas on the slide we just showed you. That's good for a couple of reasons. One, it lets us use bonus units instead of our basket of rights to entitle the property projects within those areas. So it saves us from running out of units in our basket of rights. When we do get low in those units, we have to go to the county to ask them for more. So that can be a little nerve-wracking. So it's nice to let those units last as long as possible while using the county's policies, which makes us look good to the county, and then they're more likely to help us out when we need additional entitlements. The other thing that's good about that is it's kind of mitigates the culture shock of us, or the sticker shock of us raising this fee, because you can't buy out of 216.3, so it takes that idea right out of any applicant's mind. And if you're using 216.4, you have to buy out with the county's buyout fee, which is $10,000 per unit, increase 3% annually on every January 1st. So that kind of leads us right to our second recommendation, which is to adopt the county's in lieu of fee of $10,000 escalated at 3% every year, instead of going to our full $27,708 policy or amount that would result from using our gap analysis methodology. That helps us for a couple reasons. One, we can kind of piggyback on the county's numbers so that it's unlikely we would be sued over that, because we already have data showing that it's lower than it would be if we used a gap methodology. It also automatically increases annually. So it takes the staff out of the equation. It takes the commission out of the equation. We don't have to reanalyze the housing market every now and then to see what the fee would be when the interest rates go up and down. And it really keeps that just churning along as we go forward without a whole lot of necessary policy intervention. So that's another good thing about it. And the third thing we're recommending is that we make this fee prospective instead of retroactive. So anybody who's already approved can still pay the $2,333 if they want to buy out, and anybody approved after September 30th, 2023 will pay the $10,000 buyout if they are eligible to buy out. This helps us in a couple ways. It keeps us from getting sued by the people who had an expectation of $2,333 when they were approved. And the best thing about it is it keeps a little cash flow coming into the OHUI's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which we have enjoyed having it. We've generated over $8 million in that fund with this relatively low $2,333 buyout amount. They have built over 30 single-family homes with that money, and they continually re-enter money into that fund they don't give those houses away. They've been making over $200,000 on each one of those sales that goes right back into that fund and keeps it going. So this is kind of a win-win for us. It increases the fee for future projects, but keeps some cash flow coming in for OHUI over some time to come, so that they're not going to have like a big abrupt end to those funds. So our recommendations on the next three items. Item 19 is actually the resolution to adopt a policy that applicants use policies 216.3 and 4 in the downtown and the East Transit-oriented corridor to get their entitlements. Item 20 is our amendment to Chapter 154, which will increase the in-lieu fee to $10,000 per unit, escalated 3% annually for all projects approved after September 30th, 2023. And item 21 is amendment to the two activity centers, the Downtown Overlay District and the East Overlay District, to require them to use the 216.3 and 4 per the policy in item 19. So the P&Z Board unanimously recommended approval of this package, and obviously staff recommends approval. I'm available for any questions, and then we'll do votes on each one of the items, and I won't repeat the presentation again for each one. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate the presentation. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public? Please come forward. Just name an address for the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. So this is one item that I was able to pull, mainly because of my extreme interest in affordable housing. I love this recommendation. I think it has a level of accountability for developers coming into communities, and it also helps with affordable housing for people. Yeah, it's time for them to pay up too, so I'm in full support of it, and I wish it could be the $27,000 because we could build more homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions? Commissioner Fournier.
I want to say thank you for putting together, it's kind of a thoughtful package of solutions in response to our request to look at this in lieu of fee that hadn't been looked at for, or hadn't been changed at least in a decade. So My hope is that this will have the intended effect of encouraging developers to include the affordable housing. And I think the 3% annual increase is an important part of this so that we don't have to revisit this every year. So thank you for adding that.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, thank you. Item number 20 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 154, Planning of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 154.80, Provision of Required Affordable Housing, to amend the in lieu of fee amount, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Dolan.
Yes, as previously stated, this is the second of our package, and it includes us raising the fee in the Chapter 154.8 to $10,000 escalated 3% annually for projects approved after September 30th, 2023. So I'm available for any additional questions.
Very good, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion? Questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 21 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 zoning code of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 155.3708 Downtown Pompano Beach Overlay District and Section 155.3709 East Overlay District related to affordable housing in the Downtown Pompano Overlay District, DPOD, and the East Overlay District, the EOD, to require the use of Broward County mixed income housing density bonus policies for projects consisting of 7 residential units or more, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Jean Dolan, Development Services. And this is the last in our series of 3 policies to implement the use of 216.3 and 4 in the downtown and the East Overlay District. And again, I'm available if there's any additional questions.
Very good, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion? Questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, good job, thank you. Item 22 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission, the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 zoning code of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 155.3305 heavy business B4 to allow residential and mixed-use development in B4 zoning on the Northwest 31st Avenue corridor, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Ms. Dolan, once again.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. So as many of you know, the Economic Development Council created a task force to take a look at the Northwest 31st Avenue corridor and make recommendations and create a vision for what they would see along that corridor moving forward. It came up with several recommendations, and 2 of which the Planning and Zoning can implement with the zoning code amendment. So what their recommendation was in the B4 zones along this corridor to allow them to do multifamily and mixed-use projects without downzoning to B3. So we added to the code this provision that following B3 dimensional requirements and densities and the use of 216.3 and 4, et cetera, in B4, you can go ahead and do that. And we actually already have 2 developers that are interested in using this policy, so we're excited about bringing it forward, getting it approved right away so that both Aviara West, which you're probably familiar with, and if you know about Harry Hurley's property that's been kind of in the mix since 2010 in my history, just popped up yesterday and said he was also interested in using this opportunity. So it does seem like it was a good idea of the EDC, and we're already looking at opportunities to implement it. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you have.
Very good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion? Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, we've spoken many times on this commission about the importance of 31st Avenue. It's going to be even more of a entry into our city once the Al Casino project gets going. There are going to be thousands of people coming off the Turnpike, coming down 31st Avenue to Atlantic Boulevard, and right now it's not such an attractive street. So I'm very much obligated and grateful to Mayor Fisher for his being able to purchase that land where the motels are. And that's going to make sure that something that's pleasant and welcoming. This is critical to the development of 31st Avenue. This is really going to make 31st Avenue be our street that our city will be proud of. So I thank the commission, the committee that did this study. I think they've hit the nail right on the head. And I think that if this passes, we're going to see a lot of improvements to that 31st Avenue, and pretty quickly. So thank you for the committee and all that you've done, and let's just hope that we make 31st Avenue something that we're all proud to have people come into our city on. Thanks.
Hear, hear. Further commission discussion, questions, concerns? Yeah, I have to echo with Commissioner Moss that you know, this can really be a shot in the arm for 31st Ave, and thank you to the committee for talking about all these ideas. It's great. It's really going to make a big change. Thank you. Nothing further. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Happily, yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Thank you. Item 23 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a service contract between the City of Pompano Beach and Cypress Golf Management LLC to provide for maintenance and management of the Pompano Beach Municipal Golf Course, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Mr. Bosworth.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Earl Bosworth, Assistant City Manager. This is an ordinance to authorize execution of a service agreement with Cypress Golf Management, LLC, for golf course maintenance services in an amount of $2.6 million, which includes $226,000 for the purchase of new equipment. The increased amount of this agreement over the current agreement is based on a few components. One is 5 additional positions or operators within Cypress Golf, which will ensure that the newly renovated Pines course and the Palms course are maintained at levels that will enable us to compete with some of the top courses in the area, local and regional publicly owned courses. Courses like Osprey Point, Plantation Preserve, and Pembroke Lakes. The increased cost of pesticides and other chemicals, which have increased a minimum of 30 to 35%, and the appropriate CPI adjustments. Although this agreement's technically not a renewal of the current agreement, we did base this contract on the last solicitation and current contract, which provided for one more 5-year renewal of the agreement. As you know, too, based on our one-on-one conversations with you over the last couple weeks, staff is recommending an increase in rates at the golf course for the upcoming fiscal year. That increase, if approved by the commission, will more than cover the cost of the increases in this contract. So, and I have Mr. Scott Zucchini here with Cypress Golf. He's here today to answer any of those tough questions that I might not be able to on the technical side, but that concludes my comments and available for your
Very
discussion
good.
and questions.
Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission questions, concerns? I got Commissioner Fournier first, and Commissioner Eaton.
I'm curious how much additional maintenance the new grass requires. Is most of this increment for that? And do we have an adequate amount in here to make sure that we protect that investment that we're making?
Commissioner, we do. I know Brian Campbell and Scott, and the three of us got together quite often to make sure this contract would do that. And I think you know, with the increased number of rounds of play since COVID, it does require that level of maintenance to keep it in top shape.
Okay. And secondly, you do believe that the revenue increase will more than offset this based on estimates and rounds of golf and the increased rates?
We do, as we analyzed and provided an estimate for the budget office, we looked at a low ball number of rounds, which is around 50,000. And even at that low amount, which we did over 100,000 this year, we cover that incremental difference. If we continue to have the demand and usage that we do currently, we'll far exceed the difference in the cost of this agreement.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Eden?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 225,000 in equipment, because the only place that was referenced was on the memo and then maybe the synopsis. So I want some clarification on that. We're buying equipment. It seems to me that we are buying equipment for a private company to do the job.
Well,
Unless you can explain.
Commissioner, first, it is referenced on page 2, number 7 of the agreement. You can see the $226,000 for the purchase of new equipment. Cypress Golf will lease that equipment. We make an annual payment to them for that amount over the course of the contract, so we have the equipment necessary to maintain. But it's only used for our contract at the Pompano golf courses.
So we are buying equipment
We pay for
for
the
a
equipment.
private company?
Correct, which is industry standard from what I understand in our research with the other courses.
That seems like a good deal if you can get it. I'm really kind of uncomfortable with that, and the lack of information that was in the backup on equipment. What equipment is it? Who's got control over it? How is it being maintained? I just, that bothers me, that we're spending tax dollars to buy equipment for a private company to be able to do business. Thank you, that's it.
Ma'am, we can provide that equipment list prior to the next reading.
Very good. Very good. Yes, please do, just so we've all got it. I've got Commissioner Moss.
I keep asking this question because at my Saturday morning meetings, when we go through these items and I tell people how much things will cost, the first thing that they ask me is, where is that money coming from? And in this instance, this money is coming from revenues generated by the golf course from people who play there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's not tax dollars? Because people in Palmyra, the municipal golf course competes with the 3 courses in Palmyra. And I think some of the people in Palmyra would be a little miffed if they knew that their tax dollars were supporting a public golf course that was taking business away from the golf courses that we rely upon to stay there and bring in tourists and new residents. So, I mean, it's one thing if it's coming out of the general fund. It's another thing if people who go to the municipal golf course pay fees to play there, and the funds from that is funding this. Am I correct?
Repeat the question, Commissioner, please.
So the monies for this contract are coming from fees that people pay to play on the municipal golf course. So they're not tax dollars.
It depends on the number of rounds played. I'll just give you an example. In 2021, the golf course generated $2.8 million in fees, greens fees, cart fees. In 2022, we generated $3.6 million. So you can see that. If we weren't to generate that, then yes, we would have to subsidize from the general fund.
Okay, so, well, that's just what I want people to understand, is that it's not as though the residents of Palmyra or anyone in the city is writing a check to keep the golf course going. The golf course, basically, we hope, pays for itself. Sometimes it doesn't, and we have to subsidize it, and that's okay. But people need to understand that the monies to do this are coming from the people who go there and pay to play golf there. Thanks.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Fournier again, then Commissioner Eaton.
I want to follow up on what Commissioner Eaton asked. The way I read this, it said the purchase of new equipment to be used during the term of the agreement. At the end of the agreement, this is with respect to the equipment, who owns the equipment?
It's on a lease, correct, Scott? Then it's just turned back in?
Okay, so this is essentially a lease, this $226,000 is a lease payment for the equipment that is required. It's not purchasing the equipment that someone else then owns.
Over 5 years.
Okay,
Over the term of
so during the term of the agreement.
Yes,
So-
ma'am.
Okay,
Leased equipment for 5 years, specifically used on our golf courses.
understood. My real question is what happens at the end of 5 years? It's not purchased, it's leased, so no one owns it at the end of that time. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Eden?
Yes, thank you. So we don't have like an enterprise fund set up for profits from the golf course, correct?
Right? No.
And, you know, the golf course hasn't always been profitable. So it is, in fact, taxpayer dollars that are used technically. Again, we can slice the pie any way you want, but it's technically taxpayer dollars. That's it.
Vice Mayor?
I would just like to thank staff and the golf committee. I know we've been talking about and doing improvements over the past, at least the past 4 years I've been here, but with the grass improvements, with the maintenance, and golfers are definitely discerning athletes where they want, they will go to the courses that are to their level of maintenance and skill and everything else. So I know everyone's done a lot of hard work on this, and I think I'm very excited to see the difference. I think the fact that we've put this work in where we can increase our fees is amazing, and we're getting there. And I know there's talks about the next steps to try and bring in either school level at some level or a junior tournament of some sort, which would also bring revenue back into the city. So it's definitely an investment we're looking to return on, and I think it's looking beautiful. And I know at first people were like, what's happened to the course? But once it was explained what we were doing, I know there's a lot of people excited for it, to see it when it's in its more completed state. So thank you for all the work that's been put in.
Thank you. We're confident that these changes and these upgrades are going to help position the course to just make us that more attractive of a destination, too. As you know, we're going to package this golf course with tickets to shows and some other things in there. So we're confident that this will help us get the course to that level.
Commissioner Eden?
Just to add, of course, I'm very proud of the golf course as well, and it's a huge benefit for the city. So there's no question that I'm going to support this item because we have to maintain, because we just improved the thing and we're redoing all the, you know, all the fields. So, but I'm just saying, you know, it wasn't in the backup. It was very vaguely put together. And, you know, we're the ones that oversee what gets spent and how it gets spent and make sure it's being spent properly. So I'm going to support it. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Moss?
Yeah, I'm going to support it too because it's a city-owned facility and we are obligated to maintain it the best we can. But now I can imagine there are some people out there listening who are confused and, about what Commissioner Eaton just said. So it's not tax money, but it could be tax money. Is that what we would say? If there are enough funds are not generated by user fees to pay for it, then of course it becomes taxpayer money. Because I know I'm going to get my ear bent on this on Saturday. You know, are the citizens paying for it, or are they not?
Commissioner Moss, we'd be
Yes.
glad to point out the reports that we provide to all of you on a monthly basis. But since COVID, both of our golf course operations have made money since COVID. So we have a 3-year running period now where the courses have been profitable. Plus, this new course, this course on the Pines, where this past Pelham grass is going, and why we need this contract renewed and the equipment that Scott leases to take care of it, it's going to be a signature course. We're going to have something that nobody else around us has because we don't have condos on each side of the fairways. We're out there with the airport and the raccoons.
And the owls.
Coyotes.
Foxes.
So anyway, we can't stand here and say that no tax money will be spent on the golf course. That's a possibility. But I think all of you know how much better the golf courses are doing now as opposed to during COVID when a lot of the area courses around here closed. So we have a lot more play because we've been doing a good job keeping up with the maintenance and the way, just the way we operate it and manage it.
Well, I think you misunderstand me. I'm happy for all of this, and I'm happy for it to be a world-class municipal golf course or golf course, period. I'm just anticipating questions I'm going to get next Saturday, and I think the answer is that we expect that the funds generated by players will pay for this in the long run. If for some reason it doesn't, then yes, the city absorbs that cost. Would I be correct in saying that to the people who are going to ask me this question on Saturday?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's
That is the perfect answer.
I don't want them to bite my head off. So that does it. And if you're out there listening, you heard it here. Okay, thank you.
I mean, yes, it's absolutely true. And it's just like, just about every other park that we have in the city. Other parks generate revenues. They generate revenues from soccer players, from football players, from baseball players. But rarely do parks pay for themselves. Most of our parks are underwritten by tax dollars, general fund tax dollars. But let me ask you this, Mr. Bosworth, if the golf course is wildly successful and makes buku bucks, where do those dollars go?
Yeah, into the general fund.
General fund. In other words, the fund that pays for everything within the city. It's so, in other words, the good times, the golf course is a gold mine. In bad times, yeah, the golf course is going to cost us money. But with the golf course, at least, we have an opportunity to make money as opposed to our other parks where we really don't have that opportunity because we won't have those kind of fees coming.
I'm very happy for that.
Absolutely.
I just want people to understand that.
Sure, absolutely, yes. Continued discussion. Are you finished, Commissioner Moss? Okay, great. Commissioner Forniak?
Just want to briefly say there are also, unlike some of our other parks, this likely draws people into our city, and there are peripheral economic benefits to people from people who are using the golf course to other businesses that are nearby.
Absolutely. It goes to create the allure of Pompano Beach. We are a destination city. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Item 24 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Historic Preservation Committee of the City of Pompano Beach for a term of 3 years, said term to expire on July 12th, 2026, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second. Are there any nominations?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins?
First alternate. I'd like to nominate, Willie Brown.
Okay, Willie Brown. Very good. I'd like to nominate Karen Moreland, the incumbent. So are there any further nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. So when your name is called, indicate your selection, either Willie Brown from Coconut Creek or Karen Moreland, the incumbent from District 4. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton.
Karen Moreland.
Commissioner Fournier.
Willie Brown.
Commissioner Moss.
Karen Moreland.
Commissioner Perkins.
Willie Brown.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Karen Moreland?
Mayor Harton.
Karen Moreland. Item 25 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Historic Preservation Committee of the City of Pompano Beach as alternate 1 for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 12th, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations?
Mayor?
Yes, Mayor.
I've got Commissioner Moss, then Commissioner Perkins.
The incumbent, Jacqueline Reed.
Jacqueline Reed from District 2. Commissioner Perkins?
Willie Brown. She doesn't live in District 2, she has a business in District 2.
That is correct.
Okay. Willie Brown again.
Very good. Willie Brown. Are there any further nominations? Very good. Nominations are closed. When your name is called, please indicate your selection, either Jacqueline Reed, incumbent alternate 1, or Willie Brown. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Eaton,
Jacqueline Reed?
Commissioner Fournier,
Willie Brown.
Commissioner Moss,
Jacqueline Reed?
Commissioner Perkins,
Willie Brown.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Jacqueline Reed?
and Harton.
Jacqueline Reed, thank you. That concludes our regular agenda. There is no additional audience to be heard.
No, sir.
Our next scheduled meeting will be July 18th, 2023 at 9 a.m. That is City Commission Budget Workshop right here on July 18th at 9 a.m. Then we'll be followed by July 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m., regular City Commission meeting. Very good. That takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir. Have a handout here. You should take one, pass it, please. This is a flyer on the official opening of the Senior Activity Center, Monday, July 17th, 10 a.m. 205 Northwest 9th Street, Pompano Beach. So we will have that going. And then on July 18th, it's noted here in your upcoming meetings, it's very important for our budget session to begin at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
And July 20th, Russ is having a Clean Streets in the Highlands.
Uh-huh.
So get everybody to put everything they want hauled off free on that day. All right?
Very good.
And then one other thing where's Earl? Stand up, Earl. Earl has been given a 20-year service award from the International City Management Association.
Oh, wow. All right.
He looks too young to have a 20-year award, doesn't he? Congratulations, Earl. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for all that. Appreciate it. Mr. Berman, City Attorney.
No report, thank you.
No report. Very good. Mr. Kervin Alfred, City Clerk.
No report.
No report. Very good. That takes us up to City Commissioners. Commissioner Eaton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate the Clean Streets program coming up July 20th. So it says, show pride in your neighborhood by picking up litter in your yard and placing it on the curb for collection. It's a great opportunity, and this is really important. It is a great opportunity to get rid of old appliances and old furniture, construction debris, used tires and car parts. That's big. And bicycles, whatever you've got. Basically, we could put out there except do not include any hazardous items such as paints or chemicals, batteries, gas. And we will save that for when we do our household hazardous waste through the city. And that event is going to be on August 12th. Can I get clarification if that's in Pompano or where is that going to be? That will be in Pompano, same place. All right, thank you very much for that. Let's take advantage of it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. That takes us up to Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. Last week, I had a meeting with County Mayor Fisher, County Homeless Initiative Partnership Administrator, Dr. Rebecca McGuire, and our Homeless Outreach Manager, Cassandra Rett. We requested the meeting to talk more about some of the homelessness issues in our city and our needs from the county. It was a productive dialogue. We continue to push the county for the resources that we need, including shelter beds. There was an interesting conversation about potentially expanding beds for specific populations at the North Hack. So I think it is an ongoing dialogue and something that we will continue to have with the county, but it's important to continue to advocate for the things we need here. I also want to thank Brian Donovan and Cassandra Rett for the report that they provided on the community court. It's really interesting to see the number of people they've served, the type of, the character of the homeless population here in Pompano, and get some data that can help us understand how to formulate answers and where to spend our time. So thank you for that. Last week, I had the opportunity to visit the BSO summer camp at Crystal Lake Middle School, and it was just a lot of fun. They're teenagers, they live in Pompano. We talked about all their hopes and dreams. We have a lot of future NFL and NBA players in the city of Pompano Beach, if you listen to the teenagers. We got to play some kickball and hang out. So I just want to thank BSO for their work with these youth at the summer camp, because they are keeping them occupied and keeping their minds and bodies going in positive ways during the summer. So I think that's really important. So thank you for that. And then on Friday, I attended a gun violence vigil at Mount Calvary Baptist Church with Commissioner Perkins and Mayor Harden. So it was, this is another difficult topic to talk about, but the pain and grief from these families it's hard to even, it leaves you speechless. It's hard to be around. So I know we had, as a city, after one of the recent shootings, talked about the community stores and what else we can do. I think that's another thing that we need to continue to revisit and find ways for the city to potentially make a difference with those community stores. So something just to keep on our radar, because it's an ongoing problem. And that is all I have. Everyone stay hydrated. It is hot out there.
Very good. Thank you for that suggestion also. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious. I've received emails from, I think, the Congresswoman Sheila Sheffilis McCormick, former County Commissioner Dale Holness, the MPO about the ribbon cutting at the Senior Center. And so I'm very happy that there are a lot of people that are enthusiastic about this and are supporting it. But are they sponsoring it? No, they're just happy that it's happening.
These are, excuse me, Mayor.
You, Commissioner?
They're two different events.
Oh.
There's an event tomorrow for the grand opening on Dixie Highway and 12th Street, and they're putting a medical building there. And I think that's what former Commissioner Dale Holiness is a part of. They're putting a medical building there, but on the flyer, they're calling it a senior center.
Ah.
So their grand opening is tomorrow. I think it is Wednesday, I think.
see.
Is it Wednesday, I think? Yes.
I think it's called a groundbreaking also.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking. It's not a ribbon cutting.
Yes, right. So it can be very confusing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look at the date. So, okay, well, thank you for
But
clarifying.
they're two separate events. One is Wednesday and the other one, which is ours, on Monday.
Very good. Okay, thank you. The other thing is that there is a perceived by the people in Palmyra and Cypress Bend that there has been an increase in auto thefts in those communities. So I am sponsoring a town hall meeting with the Broward Sheriff's Office on Wednesday, the 26th of July. It'll be at the Herb Skolnick Center from 7 to 9 p.m. I will be distributing flyers to the various management companies that handle the condominium associations in those two communities, having them posted in all the buildings. I would encourage everyone that's listening to please speak to your neighbors and come and speak to our police department about what you think is going on in the District 5, and also what you think can be done about it. So please come 7 to 9 p.m. Wednesday, the 26th of July, at the Herb Skolnick Center. And that will do it for me. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I am pleased to announce that we have lighting at the Weaver Park. But I want to bring attention to the pavilions. I'm still getting calls that the pavilions at Weaver Park are not cleaned. And also I wanted to know from the city manager, can you play soccer and football at that park? Is it equipped for that? Do you know?
I don't know.
is
Talking
it
about Weaver
staff-
Park?
Weaver Park, yes,
I think it's probably too narrow, but,
to play soccer or football.
but I mean, they can do it informally. Are you talking about organized?
No,
Event?
just, well,
Tournaments?
I'm just concerned about the grass and the, the maintaining of the park as to what you can and cannot do at the park is my concern. Can you answer that, Mark?
Good afternoon, Mark Boudreau, Recreation Programs Administrator. So there are some open green spaces at Weaver Community Park. It's not lined for football, soccer, or anything. If someone wanted to pick up game out there, that's certainly fine, but it is not, they are not athletic fields out there.
Okay, so if they wish to play football or soccer there, it's okay?
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
not
But
organized.
again, they are not designed as athletic fields, so there's not drainage that sheets the water off. It's just regular open
Okay.
grass
I know,
out there.
we were, since I have you standing there, we were remodeling the playground out there. Is that completed, or have we started on that at Weaver Park?
There are two playground installations, one on the north and south sides. I don't recall what the progress is on that. I'd have to
Okay.
get back to you on that.
All right, could you find out and get back with me on that? And also, when a person...
They're done.
They're done? Okay, I'll go and check it out when I leave the meeting. When a person reserved a pavilion, is it asked on the application, do they need electrical at that particular pavilion?
Pavilion states that there are no electrical outlets there.
At Weaver Park, there isn't?
There are, but the application states that there are not.
Okay, but my question is, if someone has reserved the pavilion and they need electrical, how do they go about getting electrical for that particular pavilion that they have preserved?
When we rent them, then the switch is flipped to allow it. But if someone just were to occupy it, that's what we don't condone. We just don't want folks
Okay.
hanging around with the.
I know, but I just want to make sure that when a person is applying to reserve those pavilions, that, I get calls on the weekend about it, and I know they're preserved, but they didn't know they were supposed to check the box or ask for electrical. They just assume it would be working, those people that reserved it.
It's on the application, ma'am.
Okay, so the last thing is, I've mentioned several times about the park. So what can we do on a regular basis to make sure that that park is kept clean? Because this is the third time I've mentioned this from the dais about that park not being clean, and it's just a lot on me to keep going by there to check and make sure it's clean. So is there staff or maintenance or somebody can go by that park at least 2 or 3 times a week to see if it's maintained or need cleaning?
They go
Yes,
twice
ma'am.
a day. We
Okay,
have a
well,
staff person there.
Obviously,
early in
it's
the
not
morning.
working because I'm still
and
getting
late
calls. Yeah, I'm still getting calls, and my thing is, when they see this from now on, take pictures, so that we'll have
Just at
something
Weaver
to show
Park?
you. Well, that's the complaint I'm getting now at Weaver Park. That's the complaint I'm getting now, is Weaver Park.
You hearing this?
That's a function of environmental services. That's Russ's group.
George?
Excuse me, what did you say?
I said that's a function of environmental services. That's Russ's group that picks up in there.
Wait a minute. You said environmental services what?
That's Russ Ketchum's group.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not George. That's Russ.
Well, yeah, but what she's talking about is the way the paint and everything else looks on it.
But the pavilion itself is not cleaned. It probably need to be pressure cleaned or something like that. It's just not clean, so that's just my concern. I'm getting the complaints, and I'm bringing the complaints to you to see what we can do to keep that park up.
What exactly are the complaints?
I'm giving you exactly, clean the pavilions, clean the park. That's my complaint.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, I'm good. So we know what we gotta do, right? Okay, thank you. The last thing I have is the crime and the shooting in Pompano Beach. If I could, Chief Atkins, meet with you and some of your staff about the shooting and the crime as to what we're doing to prevent or eliminate some of the crimes that are taking place. Things seems to be moving upward lately. So if you could, when you have time, just text or email when you and I can meet to decide and find out what you all are doing, what BSO is doing different to try to resolve some of the shootings and the crime we've been having, in the area. Thank you. That's it.
Very good. That takes us up to Vice Mayor McGee.
Okay, I'd like to just give a quick thanks out to the Parliament House Condo Board and Horatio Danovich for coordinating a great town hall meeting last night where we were able to bring the residents up to date on projects happening throughout the city, and a very excited group at the end, I feel. And so that was a great meeting. And then I also want to thank city staff and BSO for a fabulous 4th of July event. It was super packed at the beach, and especially compared to other large events, I think the parking management, the way we figured out to have the gates open, watching it was amazingly smooth as people cleared out, so great job. And then I also just going to say that I'm very excited for tomorrow. We'll be sinking the Meccan H2O. That is the robot that's been living on the beach for the last year. Tomorrow we will be sending him off to Davy Jones' locker to join his other brethren on the Lady Luck. So it's going to be very exciting. I know they're going to be shooting GoPro footage and underwater footage of the whole thing, so I'm sure we'll have it up on the website so everyone can see as our beloved robot scuba diver finds his new home under the sea. So thank you very much. That's it.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Mayor?
Yes,
Mayor,
Mr. Harrison.
I neglected a couple of things, sorry. So on the opening at the Senior Center on the 17th, that's actually a joint venture with MPO. We were supposed to have 3 congressmen there. I'm not exactly sure how many are going to actually be there on Thursday, but MPO has participated in the opening for us. And then the other item is that you all are receiving your budget books, hard copies, but please know that those are online also now. Okay?
Very good.
Sorry, I forgot to mention those 2 things.
Quite all right. Because no, you touched on an item I was going to bring up also, is that the senior center communiques that we have had, because ours is a senior center grand opening on the 17th, which is a joint venture between us and also the MPO. The MPO is going to be there, as Mr. Harrison just mentioned. We were supposed to have 3 U.S. Congress people there. They're also presenting a big check type thing to the MPO. It's celebrating the Tiger grants, which we've received Tiger grants for MLK, so it's a big to-do. Ribbon cutting for our facility, but also just a big to-do about transportation projects with the MPO. The other information that was out there about the senior center that you brought up with former Commissioner Holness, apparently it's a business that is doing a groundbreaking in Pompano. Nothing against that, that's great. I can't make it. But yeah, it was basically people were hired to get the word out about that in Pompano Beach, and they were using the term senior center. That's, I guess, former Commissioner Holness is part of the group that was hired to get the word out about that. So yeah, ours is completely separate. But I also wanted to point out the great event that we had at the 4th of July fireworks down at the beach. Excellent time had down there by everybody, I guess. But I also, as Mr. Livingway brought up, I hope that we can figure out some other process for the future to allow folks to actually get to their homes. I've gotten a couple of communiques about that where folks wanted to get home and they were turned away by our deputies, which I understand that the traffic control and crowd control is one thing. If we've got a bridge which is up or down and we've got people flowing over a bridge, I can see where, yeah, nobody can go across that bridge, but there was still 2-way traffic, I believe, on A1A. So if we can just look into that for next year, that'd be great. But aside from that, yep, don't forget the ribbon cutting, and got a lot of good things going on in Pompano. That's it. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.